Welcome to our Sweet 16 SLEE. Today, CAGJ is celebrating our 16th Strengthening Local Economies Everywhere dinner on July 16th. Woo! My name's Heather Day. I'm CAGJ's co-founder and director. And I want to begin by asking you to feel the earth under your feet and bodies and ground yourselves. I want to honor this garden behind me, where there are so many plants that I've learned recently from Native folks to appreciate as our teachers. We recognize that we are on Coast Salish land and the occupied territories of the First Peoples of Seattle. These places, many of us consider home, have been stewarded for millennia by the Salmon people, who are the Duwamish, the Muckleshoot, the Quinault Indian Nation, and other tribes. We are grateful for the abundance they have passed on to us and recognize their leadership in our food sovereignty movement. Thank you so much to Patricia and Abel, musicians from Sin Fronteras, who joined us today. They, with Pam, I remember, played at the second SLEE, so it's a long time relationship. I want to recognize our honored guests, and thanks everyone who helped us host folks. First, the food producers. Brianne's here with Clean Greens Farm and Market. Thank you so much for representing. Really appreciate the radishes and lettuces that Tommy and Venice harvested for us this morning. Loki Fish Company has donated salmon every single year. I don't think the Knutsons are here, but just so grateful to them. And they actually donated so much smoked salmon that we have enough to give away probably to everyone. So at the end, please take a look. A table over there, you'll be able to get some salmon. We're so glad to be joined by some of our longtime Food Justice Project Solidarity Campaign partners. Estefania Narvaz is here representing Uprooted and Rising and Block Corporate Salmon, our longtime campaign in solidarity with Northwest Tribes. Thank you so much for coming. UFCW, Local 3000, we love you. They're now Local 21 anymore. It's crazy. They're now even bigger statewide union. UFCW is a grocery store workers, also healthcare, as you know, and just a really important longtime partner of CAGJ. I remember the organizing director gave the keynote at the third SLEE, Steve Williamson, who's, now the husband of our representative. Edgar Franks is here representing Familias Unidas por la Justicia, Farm Worker Union. Woo! And Julie and others are here with Washington Fair Trade Coalition. So thank you to all of you. I hope you're enjoying the appetizers. It was generously prepared by Kristen Cole, who founded Madre's Kitchen, has moved on to working at PCC, but she's wanting to do food sovereignty activism. So I said, okay, how about catering our event? And she said yes, which was really generous. But also thanks to all the kitchens and all the volunteers who are helping in the kitchen. Yes. Including, it's very exciting for me. My brother is here from France for the first time ever at SLEE. So thanks for helping, Robbie. And Marie-Noël. Also, we have desserts that will be served at some point. Thanks to those of you who brought desserts, especially Karen Cogill, who made a Sweet 16 cake for us. I'm sure you've checked out the silent auction. We're gonna have a pause in about 15 minutes and let you do your final bids, and then it will close. And then after I give some introductory remarks, we'll hear from our keynote, Black Star Farmers. Can't wait to hear from them. And then we'll hear from Shannon Tyman about how to support CAGJ, and then Ashley Fent will tell you how we can collectively take action for food sovereignty with our African partners today. And we're gonna take a photo together as we often do, and then we'll wrap up. So I just want to share a little bit about CAGJ. So I think a lot of you are familiar with our work, but I just want to give an introduction. So we were founded by activists who organized to shut down the World Trade Organization in 1999, and we carry that legacy very proudly and try to honor the anniversaries, make sure that history stays alive in Seattle and beyond. We were born out of a people's uprising, and we really try to carry that spirit forward. We're membership-driven. We're structured to build leadership, so we're guided by our members who decide on our organizing priorities, and volunteers really make it happen. Folks can join our committees, our organizing collectives. Generally, they're guided by one staff and some part-time staff, and we have some here that we'll be recognizing today. Our mission is to strengthen the global food sovereignty movement through community education and mobilization. We build solidarity across movements through grassroots, community-based organizing, and a commitment to ending all forms of oppression. We work to transform unjust trade and agricultural policies and practices imposed by corporations, governments, and foundations, i.e. the Gates Foundation. We promote alternatives that embody values of racial, social, and environmental justice, collective liberation, solidarity, community self-determination, and ecological health. And I'm really proud of those values. They're part of our strategic planning process we've done over the last few years. We've been digging in deep. It's kind of taken longer than usual because of COVID, but we restated our values and put a lot of energy into choosing those values I just shared with you. We use community education, grassroots organizing, research, and media to organize, always using an anti-oppression framework to end racism and other forms of oppression as we work for global justice. So we organize towards food sovereignty, which was first coined in 1996 by La Via Campesina, a global social movement led by peasant farmers, having a really interesting conversation within National Family Farm Coalition, which is one of the coalitions we're a part of, about whether farmers in the U.S. identify as peasants and why that word has a pejorative meaning oftentimes. So that's something I'm excited about exploring. Food sovereignty is really about democratizing the food system, right? So this means that people working across the food system should have the power and control rather than profit-driven corporations. So that's what we're fighting for together. Thanks for the clap, Alicia. Let's hear it for food sovereignty. Yes. Woo! What did they say? Globalize the hope. Globalize. Globalize hope. Globalize hope. Globalize the struggle. We also promote agroecology, which is a science, practice, and a movement. It encompasses many sustainable farming practices rooted in cultural traditions and local knowledge, but it's not just about sustainability. As Edgar Frank said, agroecology is a way of life. It's a path towards social and ecological transformation. It offers resilience to changing conditions like our climate. We're committed to building strong social movements because we believe they're necessary, right, to drive forward change. So we're actively involved in building the food sovereignty movement, food justice movement in the U.S. Locally, but also with the National Family Farm Coalition, as I mentioned, which is a part of La Via Campesina. We've played a big role founding and working hard week in, week out with the U.S. Food Sovereignty Alliance. We're also really proud to be a member of the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa. Through building movements, we engage in the larger collective work of transforming our food system. And of course, leaders are always central to building movements. We prioritize political education, training, and skill building. Right now, we're holding our 4th Rise Up Summer School. And shout out to Simone, who initiated that program, and I'm really proud that it's still going. We transitioned online during COVID, and this year, we have over 100 registrants, whereas in person, when we had it in person, it was 20 or 25 people, but it's been exciting to have people from all over the country, and actually a lot of Africans who know about our work have registered. So summer school, as sometimes I call it camp mistakenly, but it's most, for young people and adults. It's not a camp. And it includes reading groups, field trips when possible, and we have monthly webinars. We just had one of the best webinars we ever had, thanks to Estefania Narvaz, an incredible organizer that had us do a visionary fiction workshop, and it was really soul building. So we've heard from a lot of participants how impactful summer school has been. So I mentioned that we've been in a strategic assessment process. We began a process of evaluation to strengthen our accountability and practice of racial justice. We had a dream team, shout out to all the dream team members who are here, that led CAGJ towards our new theory of change and an evaluation of our work, and some changes are underway because of that. We're gonna start having monthly CAGJ meetings instead of Food Justice Project meetings and try to bring everyone into the opportunity to engage with all of our work every month. In addition to having like ongoing collectives, like in solidarity with farm workers, for example, and I'll talk about that in a second. But we're also excited to be doing a deep dive recently to strengthen our communications. We're developing a new website, which is a big deal for us. So thanks to everyone who participated recently in our survey and interviews. So we've had 3 areas of work for the past 16 years. Like I said, we were founded in 1999, and we're really focusing on trade justice and transforming the U.S. role in trade globally. So we still do that work, but just a little bit differently, focusing on how, make sure you're okay, free trade undermines our healthy food and agricultural systems. Like I said, part of our trade justice work is marking the anniversaries of the WTO protests. We also are a member of Washington Fair Trade Coalition, who really take the lead locally on trade issues. And over the past 2 years together, we've been very focused on working to end vaccine apartheid at the World Trade Organization, and calling out Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation's terrible role in undermining that. So we have the Food Justice Project. So we have Trade Justice, one area, and then Food Justice Project that involves political education. We're really excited that we have our third Our Food, Our Right zine that a collective produced over the past year. It's both digital, like a beautiful interactive website, also a book. I was really excited to sing a song for the zine, and then I wrote an article about the song. So the website's really beautiful, check it out. And then we have our solidarity campaigns. So I'm just gonna highlight 2 right now. One is our campaign to stop genetically engineered salmon in solidarity with Northwest tribes. And really in solidarity with tribes everywhere. Since 2016, we've joined the several Pacific Northwest tribes in opposing GE salmon. In 2018, we released our short film, Salmon People, produced with the Muckleshoot Food Sovereignty Project, which really is the inspiration for a lot of this work, specifically Valerie Segrest. Salmon People, The Risks of Genetically Engineered Fish for the Pacific Northwest. It was a short film that tells a story about why we should reject GE salmon from the perspective of Northwest tribal leaders and fishermen in the context of longstanding struggle to have treaty rights upheld. And then we screened it at Town Hall with 2 of the leaders. Like I said, Valerie is one, and then the president of the Quinault Indian Nation, Fawn Sharp, was with us. Our event then came right after the FDA had lifted the import ban on Aqua Bounty's salmon eggs. So at the time, that was like the first time we realized that GE salmon could actually go from the lab, and onto our plates potentially. And that's really where we've been for the last, I guess, 2 years. And it's been incredible development that Uprooted and Rising has taken the lead on that work, which has just expanded it, deepened it. It's just been incredible. So we're trying to keep up with, there's a lot going on right now because there's protests where in the different places where Aqua Bounty is trying to set up new factories because they're going to be polluting the water systems. The Aqua Bounty's under investigation for fiduciary issues. Like, they have tons of problems, which is great because we want to bring them down. And we're about to break a new story, but I can't say anything about it, but it's going to be a big deal, so stay tuned in literally the next couple of days or week. So, and then another campaign that we've been involved in for a long time is farm worker justice. So we're really very fortunate in our region for the amazing food sovereignty work of community to community development based in Bellingham, and then the farm worker union Familias Unidas por la Justicia. And we try to support their campaigns. Summer school members have gotten to participate in fundraising for FUJ when they were supporting the striking packing house workers a couple of summers ago, and we made it a political education and development opportunity, and those summer school members, with a lot of your help, raised $21,000 for the farm workers, so that felt really good. to support them in that way. We've organized berry picking days in the past with the FUJ, and then they also have a cooperatively run farm, the Cooperativa Tierra y Libertad, founded by the union members to give complete autonomy to the workers. So we hope to visit them again later in August. But we also invite you to join us on August 6th for the annual Farm Worker March for Dignity. And then we have an opportunity to help organize an event in October in Seattle. Been invited by FUJ to host a statewide tour that they're doing with the objective of raising awareness about the problems with the Farm Workforce Modernization Act. So please join our Farm Worker Justice Collective. We have a lot of work to do in solidarity with those folks. And then our third area of work is Augur Watch. So Augur Watch is our campaign to challenge the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, which is AGRA. We are challenging their neo-colonial and philanthrocapitalists efforts to corporatize African agriculture. The campaign started in 2008 in response to the launch of AGRA and relationships that we have with Kenyan activists. We organize in solidarity with African farmers and activists. We monitor, research, and publicize the investments and projects of the Gates Foundation. We try to educate our community locally to build analysis and organizing power. We mobilize action at the Seattle headquarters as often as we can of the Gates Foundation to challenge them in person. And our aim is to change the narrative around hunger and poverty in Africa. Recently, we've had some pretty amazing developments with this work. A lot has been happening this year. We're involved in long-term efforts to defund AGRA, including wrapping up demands through a public letter to the U.S. Agency for International Development. So our government, our tax dollars directly fund the Alliance for Green Revolution in Africa. And we've just been looking for how, it's hard to move the Gates Foundation. It's hard to change their policies, but we can change our government's policies. And our partners recently testified to Congress. There are Congress members listening to demand that the agency stop funding AGRA and support agroecology instead. So as part of this long-term strategy, we're coordinating monthly meetings with other organizations to support African movements, including GRAIN and Institute for Agriculture and Trade Policy and et cetera group, a lot of really important groups internationally. We've been meeting regularly, so really building our relationships and movement in that way. We were engaged in resistance to the UN Food Systems Summit, which was headed by AGRA's president last year, so we knew there was something wrong with it. It was protested by civil society organizations around the world because of being so pro-corporate. And as part of the Global People's Counter movement, we held a participatory theater performance at protest that was super fun. I wish we could have done it again today because I want more people to see it. We'll do it again, but it was a protest outside the Gates Foundation's headquarters, and we also organized a panel in New York during the UN Food Systems Summit. Most importantly, for me, what I'm most proud of is our Rich Appetites films, short films, thanks to the very able coordination of Ashley Fent, who, it's a beautiful story. Ashley got involved as a volunteer when she was a student at UW and helped organize the first SLEE. Was very involved. She actually, painted that banner, she did our logo, she did a lot of stuff with CAGJ. And then she went and got her PhD studying in West Africa and just happened to be available when we needed to hire an organizer last year. And it's just been so special to have her back. And she's brilliant, and she's producing these short films, co-producing with the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa. You probably haven't had time, but they've been playing all afternoon in the gym. But you can also get them online, obviously. And we're really proud that we've reached over 50,000 people on various online platforms. We're producing the fourth film right now, and then there'll be a fifth one, and then we'll put them together and do an event this fall. Yeah! I don't need my music. Done that. One moment, please. So what time is it? I have to keep track. So this is our thank you for the support and listening to what CAGJ is all about. I hope those of you who are new got a better feeling for how we work to strengthen the global food sovereignty movement. We're going to take just like a 2-3 minute break so that if anybody who's like really hoping to get one of the items over there, if you want to go get in your last bid, we're just going to take a 2-3 minute break, and then we'll close the silent auction right afterwards, and I'll introduce Black Star Farmers.
Con luz de luna o de sol, tendida como una cinta con sus lados de arrebol, arrebol de los geranios y sonrisas con rubor, arrebol de los claveles y las mejillas en flor, perfumada de magnolias, rociada de mañanita, la veredita sonríe cuando tu pie la acaricia y la pupulí se ríe y la ventana se agita cuando por esa vereda tu fina estampa paseas. Fina estampa, caballero, caballero de fina estampa, un lucero que sonriera bajo un sombrero, no sonriera más hermoso ni más luciera, caballero, y en tu andar reluce la cera al andar. Lleva hacia los zaguanes y a los patios encantados, te lleva hacia las plazuelas y a los amores dorados. Veredita que se arrulla con tafetanes bordados, tacón de chapín de seda y fustes almidonados. Es un caminito alegre con luz de luna o de sol que de recorrer cantando por si te puedo alcanzar. Fina estampa, caballero, quien te pudiera guardar. Fina estampa, caballero, caballero de fina estampa, un lucero que sonriera bajo un sombrero, no sonriera más hermoso ni más luciera, caballero, y en tu andar reluce la cera al andar.
Antes de amar de nuevo, lava tu corazón con agua y con ceniza que sean verdaderas. Así el recién venido sabrá que has olvidado al otro que ocupaba tu vida aventurera. Antes de amar de nuevo, desata las amarras que te retienen lejos en horizonte extraño. Ignoras lo que vale conquistar un minuto cuando orgullosamente te has dormido 1000 años. Se ama de pie en un mundo confuso y desgarrado que apenas da reflejo de algo mucho más bello. Para alcanzarlo basta con limpiar la mirada y sin ninguna duda sabrás lo que es aquello. Antes de amar de nuevo, llora un poco en silencio, haz como hace la lluvia que lava tu ventana. El sol no está tan lejos de tu alma vanidosa, solo que para verlo hay que abrir la mañana. Solo que para verlo hay que abrir la mañana. se ama de pie en un mundo confuso y desgarrado que apenas da reflejos de algo mucho más bello. Para alcanzarlo basta con limpiar la mirada y sin ninguna duda sabrás lo que es aquello. Antes de amar de nuevo, llora un poco en silencio. Haz como hace la lluvia que lava tu ventana. El sol no está tan lejos de tu alma vanidosa, solo que para verlo hay que abrir la mañana. Solo que para verlo hay que abrir la mañana.
All right, everybody, it's your last chance. We're closing the silent auction and now. Right? Right. Okay, put in your last bids and join us. I'm going to introduce Black Star Farmers. Woohoo! Are there any seats available on these tables? There are, right? If anybody needs to sit at a table with chairs, there's quite a bit of room on the side here. If anybody's not comfortable sitting on the ground. On this side. All right, if I can get everybody's attention again. We are freedom bound. We have come too far, and we won't turn around. We've flooded the streets with justice. We are freedom bound. We have come too far, and we won't turn around. I learned that at the WTO. Did anybody else learn it there? It's my favorite thing I learned during the WTO. So it is, well, other than the fact that People's Uprising could shut down the World Trade Organization. Yes, they can. Yes, they did. Yes, we did. All right, so it is my honor, great honor, to introduce our keynote tonight, Black Star Farmers. Woo! Their keynote is titled Reclaiming Food Sovereignty and Reconnecting to Indigenous Ways of Life. We're so excited that this is the first time our keynote has asked to give the keynote collectively. So we have 4 speakers. I've always thought that would be a good idea, and this is the first time that it was proposed. Oh, sweet baby. Marcus Henderson has a degree in energy resources engineering and has focused his own energies on building low-energy, intentional agrarian community. Did you see what I did there? Which they have been nurturing and beautifully since having the inspiration to start growing food at Cal Anderson Park during the George Floyd uprising. Yes. Derrick McDonald is a Black designer and researcher intent on imagining, making, and maintaining safe and affirming worlds in deep connection with community and the land. Orian Grant is an organizer for Black Star Farmers who was raised in Tacoma's Hilltop neighborhood and often leads outreach and engagement with partner organizations. And soon he'll be working on the Black Star Farmers project, the Rainier Valley Water Resiliency Program. Yes, he will. Yes, they will. And they, them pronouns. Thank you for telling me. Orian Grant. They will be working on the Rainier Valley Water Resiliency Program. Cactus, unfortunately, is not able to be with us, but we're very grateful to Xander for stepping in. Yes. So with that, I would like to ask Black Star Farmers to join us at the mic.
Hey, folks. I think we're just going to come up here one by one. My name's Derrick. Oh, sorry, Xander. We could also do this together. Come on. Organizing's like jazz. You just sort of have to improvise. My name is Derrick. and I'm honored to welcome you on behalf of Black Star Farmers to the 16th Annual Strengthening Local Economies Everywhere Gala. I'd first like to thank the sun and the stars for giving us this moment to come together and deepen our relationships with and as a community. I'd like to thank the land and the water for nourishing and caring for our bodies and our souls. I'd like to thank the original Duwamish and Coast Salish peoples who have maintained a connection to the land and the water since time immemorial. I'd like to thank everyone who has volunteered their time and energy over the past several years to work in any of the spaces that BSF has stewarded, to include our present cadre of stewards, Xander, Sombra, Misty Dawn, Stephanie, Cactus, Orian, and Kalima.
And Kindred.
Kindred, Buckwheat, and Motown.
Yes. There we go.
Thank you for showing up, for being present, and for celebrating the ways in which we are transforming our reality. Strengthening local economies everywhere. That's a lot. We really don't like doing easy work around here, do we? For a long time, I only understood economy through the lens of capitalism. Supply and demand, costs and benefits, incentives, and scarcity as 4 key principles to understand human behavior. That was back when I thought that the only way to understand the world was to learn how it is defined by cis-white heteropatriarchy. I know that I'll spend my entire life unlearning these ideas. These are some of the generational curses that we have to break. And I don't just mean black folks. Our concept of value, education, care, and justice have been deeply corrupted by a settler colonial ethic and manifest in material ways. Take these homes, for example. Built on the bones of Black and Indigenous communities, they are a symbol of our cursed reality for Black, Indigenous, and white folks. There's many white folks who own property here in Madrona, and they didn't name this community center the MLK Community Center, because if they were Black folks, they would have named it the Dr. Martin Luther King Community Center. Part of the work of being a part of a white supremacist society is being accountable to the harm you contribute and making change. Understanding the world through this lens, understanding the world as property, a collection of resources to connect to a collection of consumers, the idea of productive and reproductive labor, scarcity, are not fundamental principles to understand human behavior. These are powerful myths that maintain social control. These are myths cultivated by white supremacy. The idea that the values and beliefs of wealthy, cisgender, able-bodied, straight, European-descended men are normal, right, and good, and that all other worldviews are deviant. And this is what manifests in our world as whiteness, or the psychic and material infrastructure that normalizes the conditions of wealthy, cisgender, able-bodied, straight, white men. But we don't need whiteness to define economization of peoples throughout the world. They used economy to help define some of their political theories. Economy comes from the Greek word oikos, meaning home, and nemen, meaning to manage. The question isn't how can we increase supply or demand, or improving our cost-benefit analysis, or avoiding scarcity, because scarcity is a myth and there is enough if we share. The question is, how do we want to manage our homes? Once we deconstruct the myth that the earth is something that can belong to somebody, it's easy to understand how deeply we belong to the earth. We belong to the food that we eat, the water that we drink, the ground that we rest our feet on, and that holds us through our days and our nights. And admittedly, in the lifetime of one person, 250 years of American empire can feel like a long time. But indigenous peoples have thrived as a part of these lands for hundreds of thousands of years. This society today is obsessed with the end times. As a millennial, I've spent my entire life inundated with stories of apocalypse. Corporate media conglomerates literally franchise the fear of a dying planet, from major news outlets to billion-dollar entertainment franchises like Marvel. You know why Hollywood has to invent superheroes for us to look up to? Because America has none. And before you offer up people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as an example of an American hero, I'll defend my position by saying that if anything, Dr. King is a hero of the promise of America, a promise that remains broken. This is a broken promise we're all experiencing today. We see it in the bellies of babies our economy cannot supply food to. We see it in encampments of people we refuse to house. We see it in prisons full of criminalized poverty. We see it in our courtrooms, or we don't. For white folks, this feels like the end times, but for Black and Indigenous peoples today, this has always been our post-apocalyptic reality, because settler colonialism and capitalism has been coming for us for a long time. Centering Indigenous ways of knowing in our work is not a performance or something to be done out of guilt. Centering Indigenous ways of knowing is vital because the peoples indigenous to this land have belonged to this land longer than any of us. They understand what it means to be in right relations with the land, and their lives, in many ways, have become subsumed by understanding how we have become incarcerated by colonial policy and violence. Black and Indigenous epistemes and ontologies, these ways of knowing and ways of being, are a template for liberation. They are systemic knowledges that focus deeply on relation and connection and center justice in profound ways, because these knowledges and practices were developed in close connection over the course of thousands of years. How do we want to manage our home? Taxonomically? Do we want to inventory every species and subspecies until we've invented racial order and hierarchy? Puritanically. Do we resign the beauty and complexity of the world to abstract and ambiguous concepts of good and evil, opening ourselves up to moral manipulations that actually perpetuate harm and injustice? Transactionally, does every action have an equal and opposite reaction? Are there some debts that cannot be accounted for and therefore cannot be compensated? I'd say America answered that one for us already. If we want to exercise our own agency in how we manage our home, we have to do it in community with the land. It starts with how you nourish your body and your soul. If you want to know how to manage your home, it starts in the garden. If you don't feel like you have access to land, maybe that's an accident. Maybe that isn't an accident. And if the land is too much for your hands to hold alone, maybe that's an insight. There's a tremendous amount of work to be done in liberating ourselves, and the first way to make that happen is by liberating the land. Love it, care for it, nourish it, and it will nourish you. Freeing the land frees the people, and that is exactly what Black Star Farmers has been doing. I'm excited to hear what the rest of the collective has to say about the work we've been doing.
Oh my God. Oh. Wow. First off, thank you, Derrick. Should have let you finish. It's all good. Yeah. So I'm going to take it back a little bit. I've been with Black Star Farmers since day one, and I think in terms of getting to where Derrick is talking about, there were some steps and some hurdles we had to go over as an organization in order to get to the place we are now, where we can move forward collectively. I'm not going to talk too much about food sovereignty really until the end, but it gets there, I promise. So it's a little story. 2 years ago, on June 7th, in the middle of George Floyd uprising, I showed up to Cal Anderson with a shovel in hand with the intentions of starting a guerrilla garden. My scope at the time could not have captured what followed. Almost instantly, the garden and myself went viral, and the world came to see me as the Black Star Farmer. Black Star Farmers, with an S, came into existence a week later in a tent next to the garden with a group of community members who had showed up over the past week in support of the garden, who decided to collectively steward the space in honor of the Black and Indigenous lives that are being murdered by the police ongoing. That purpose would put us on a journey of learning how to hold each other in the face of intersectionality, collective harm, and individual trauma for the next 2 years. So there was a lot there in that last paragraph, but I'm going to focus just on the word collective, because in order to address the injustices that have occurred against Black and Indigenous people, it required us first to figure out what it meant to be a collective and what it means to be a collective going forward. Being a collective means recognizing where power flows and creating agreements to minimize harm and maintain individual autonomy. This is a definition that took time to understand. Since the beginning, Marcus Henderson, myself, has been seen as the Black Star Farmer, as said before. The decision to become collective was something that I thought I knew when I made that decision a week after June 7th, but it's something I've had to learn through a lot of trial and error and mistakes. This level of focus on an individual is the norm in this world we live in. As a society, we tend to create hierarchies or recreate hierarchies as the norm, as something we have been taught since we were born. We are used to giving one human being or a group of human beings both the responsibility and the recognition for the work of many beings. And I say beings because it's not only human beings that run this world. It's not only human beings that make this world function. This serves the purpose of removing agency from other beings, which gives a small group of leaders the power to shape the world based on their experiences, skills, and worldviews. Thus, Black Star Farmers' first hurdle as an organization was transitioning to a horizontal power structure, one in which all of us have agency and power, one and the same thing. Agency is power. We identified that power is held in our identities. A term that we used for a long time was identity politics, which explains a lot of what goes on in the organizing world when it comes to, the replacement of power, power being still put in the hands of a few identities. So what happens when power is held in identities is when you have a group of diverse identities being put in a room or an organization together, those power dynamics begin to form and play out, and that is planned. That is something that this society creates institutionally so that some can have and others cannot. They choose which identities have power in certain moments in order to fracture us. Black Star Farmers for a long time was seen as a purely black organization. But that is not who we are. You can look around and see this group right now. We hold a multitude of identities, some that are not even recognized in society today. Identities holding power is not inherently bad, but when there's not a system of accountability, power can go unchecked and cause harm. Our community agreements that we work together as an org to allow us to do this work allow power to flow within our organization and uplift individual agency as a key part of the work that we do. Now, the second part of that, the two words I wanted to focus on, collectively steward is what I said before. The second part is stewarding. Now, stewarding is a word that I had a hard time accepting, and my good friend, MD over here, has taught me a lot about what it means to steward in community. We are farmers, yes, but at our core, we are stewards. Black Star Stewards doesn't ring as the same way, sorry. But we're working it out, So stewardship is a commitment to holding each other in community. We focus on the land, but as I said before we can even get to the land, we have to hold each other. I'm grateful for this group for holding me through my own journey. And in turn, I work to hold this group and all of you. And now I'll wrap it back to food sovereignty for a sec. So to circle back, food sovereignty means that we all have to learn how to collectively steward the land and each other, which means that we all have agency and responsibility to maintain this planet's ecosystem. Through the work that Black Star Farmers does, we show people their individual power as land stewards. And just to stay there for a sec, we all have the ability to steward this land. We are taught to believe that we don't. We are taught to believe that we don't know how to grow food, that we don't know how to build our own homes, that we don't know how to raise our own children. We are taught to believe that we do not have the ability and thus we must rely on a system. But in order to have true food sovereignty, we must understand our own capabilities and that we are all stewards, not only for the land, but for each other going forward. And through our work, we remind people of their collective responsibility as beings that inhabit the land. Those two have to go hand in hand. Because we see too much, there's a few people who believe they have power and that they can steward the land, but they don't have any idea of what it means to be in a collective. So it's important that we do both. This has been my journey and our journey as Black Star farmers. And yeah, I'm excited to also move forward in community with all of you as we learn these lessons and hold each other. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Xander. My pronouns are she, her. I wrote some notes. No, the wine is a crush. So I have had the tremendous opportunity and the tremendous honor of being able to work with Black Star Farmers for now about 2 months. And I think about the impact that I've made during my stay here and also the impact that Black Star Farmers has made on all of you. My work here impacts on a small level and on a very deep level. I have created relationships with my neighbors, and I have created relationships with the school here and the people surrounding the different gardens that I get to work at. Impact looks different for a lot of different people. Energy is recognized differently by all of us. And in this space specifically, a lot of the impact that we get to have is on the next generation. So we're working in conjunction with children who are running around this space and who get to learn directly from people that they look up to, because I'm just a little bit bigger, but they seem to look up to me. I'm not sure why. But all of the children that I feel like I'm able to impact when I come into this space gives me hope for generations to come, and hope that our message will be interpreted and spread, and even in big ways like that, but also in little ways, like how I was able to cook a dish for you all from our garden and bring it here so that you can taste things from our garden. And I think that that's an impact that I'm able to bring specifically to Black Star Farmers. Is I love to cook, and I love to also provide education with different things that you can pull from the garden and how to cook them and how to apply them to your own lives. Like I said, the impact is different for everyone. It looks like food for a lot of us. We all eat multiple times a day, and we seem to need it to survive. So that's how I feel that I take a big part in being here, even though, like I said, I haven't been here for very long, and I won't stay for very long either. But yeah, I think that I grew up not being able to afford food a lot of the times. So even here in the garden, I get to pick food that sustains my life and myself. I come from a lower income background, and I'm able to use these different foods. Yeah, so the impact, firstly, is for myself to better my own life, and then once I have achieved a level of healthiness then I'm able to reach out and branch out to all of you. Okay.
No, we're just fine. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm crossing off my first point here because my team has done such a great job and the people that I've grown with have done such a great job of iterating the point. So I'm going to bring it home for us. I'd like to reassess two questions we've asked our community in leading up to this incredible event, this 16th annual gala. First, who are Black Star Farmers? Our definition reads as a coalition of people with diverse identities working towards the radical reclamation of land and food sovereignty for all beings. Yes, yes, yes. However, this definition really misses the most essential element of our collective shared experience, the one thing that makes us truly dangerous. Black Star is a family at the cusp of Black liberation ecology. We are a radical group of dream makers, imagining a future with Blackness as ubiquitous as whiteness, where brown and Black folks especially realize the power of their presence and joy despite the powers that be. Now moving on, folks, I want us to think about that in context. Theologian and educator Howard Thurman said, "Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and go do that." And he's so right. The world does need people who have come alive. This organization is activated in every capacity, in every way. Not only that, they bleed energy and life into their community through the hard work, the dedication, and the labor that we put in. Not only as a collective, but as individuals, this work is measurable. Now, being where we are right now, thinking of our kind of context between history, between what we all have, I want us to continue to think about liberation and kind of the idea of joy as we go through the rest of this conversation. A liberated and joyous people are still the greatest threat to a white settler colonial society. I'm going to let that sink in. And to Derrick's point earlier, if these past years,
It's an op. Sorry.
if these past years have felt like the end of your world, well, then it probably is. The reality is most of us have experienced some form of oppression, be it through food justice, insecurity, oppression, apartheid, and in some cases just downright hatred for the majority of our lives. I look across this room at people who have not only known this struggle adjacently, but are sometimes just coming to understand it. My second question, what are we trying to accomplish together? I'll try to answer this quickly. Growth in all directions. I'll take this moment to place the onus and confront the structures of violence within myself here. Socialized as male and taught to survive, there have been a cycle of harm both caused and experienced in my journey to physical and psychic liberation. Being a part of a community like this not only grants me in this flesh the chance to liberate, but also allows me and my ancestors to break cycles. What kind of legacy we choose to leave behind is exactly the kind of garden we tend today. These values are extremely old and might seem a little boring if they weren't so damn applicable. So I'll just say it again. The legacy we leave behind is exactly like the garden we tend today. What's guaranteed is the range of harm and challenge that comes from trying to rewrite history. That's a given. What is not guaranteed to us is just how far we will rise and grow to change ourselves in that process. To conclude, Bronte Velez asks us to interrogate what brings us pleasure. The very institutions we are fighting against work to physically deform us, bending our bodies and nervous system away from our full capacity. Bending, but not breaking our joy. A member of our organization once challenged my desire to center Black joy because the tone of the movement felt too dire. I realized in that moment the depth of our traumatization, where violence and the urgency of this movement essentially stole my comrades' will, their joy. These moments of gathering feel like a chance to share in our collective critique of the world around us, surrounded by like minds, like company. But as I look around at all of you, I see an opportunity to correct and world build beyond this Eden, to spread our collective joy and knowledge because we deserve it, because our world deserves it, because our ancestors deserve that. I'm asking you all in this moment to close your eyes, to allow this energy from community to follow you home like a guardian. I want you to let this sink in to your conscious and motivate you like a promise. We deserve joy, we will attain joy, and we will find our liberation. There are no fairy tale endings, and as my comrade just stated, there's no incentive to allow us to draw the blueprint for our own liberation, nor heroes here to save us. It's up to you and me, this group behind me, Motown and Buckwheat. It's up to all of us to be able to bring our collective energy together, to free the land, to build our gardens, and to tend to our legacy together. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Good job.
I want a hug.
Yeah, of course.
Aw. So amazing. Woo, that was beautiful, emotional. Thank you so much to each one of you. All the thoughts and care and wisdom that you just shared with us was really special. I'm going to invite a dear friend, Shannon, who is another one of the former SLEE coordinators in the house, who actually was connected with Black Star Farmers and suggested you all as a keynote. So super grateful to you, Shannon, and she's going to come up and share how you all can support CAGJ. And Jenny, this is when you grab the bag and pass stuff around. We have some membership cards for you in case you haven't filled one out yet. Yeah.
I think the best way to do the mic is, I guess I could go up and
Oh yeah, we need to know. I think
I can also do
he can adjust this.
It also goes up.
Can you just adjust it down?
Well, how about I go up a little so people can see me over the podium? And we meet each other in the middle.
Podium, are you okay with
Is that curve it down? Okay. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, rock and roll. Like that energy. All right, pull up my speech. Hi, my name is Shannon Timon, and thank you all for your incredible words. That was incredible. It is such a pleasure to be gathered here today, especially after a long couple years. So nice to see all these faces in person. So just wanted to acknowledge that. I won't beat around the bush. Heather asked me to come up here to ask for your financial contribution to CAGJ. But by way of convincing you, I wanted to briefly explain what the Community Alliance for Global Justice has meant to me through the years. So in the November of 1999, I was finishing up my first semester of college on the East Coast. Feel free to refrain from doing age-related math. I remember rapidly watching the World Trade protests unfold in Seattle, and having recently developed an interest in sustainable development and completed an internship where I got to attend a meeting with the Brazilian Rubber Tappers Union, I was, for the first time in my life, in a position to understand the portent of the global negotiations underway and the demand to keep agriculture out of the World Trade Organization. The protesters I was watching on my computer screen were my heroes. And in subsequent years, I attended numerous protests and became increasingly interested in the role of food systems in promoting social change. To this day, I credit the WTO protesters with inspiring these interests. Fast forward a decade or so, and I've moved to Seattle. I'm gonna pause for the airplane. To start graduate school at the UW. Imagine my awe and delight when I began meeting folks who were involved in CAGJ. Travis, Pam, Annie, Heather, many of whom had participated in the protests that had been so influential on my thinking as a young college student. I recall years of volunteering for SLEE, breaking down local goat in the kitchen, that was a trip, arranging flowers, serving plates of food, and laughing and learning with and from the other volunteers and attendees. CAGJ always draws a crowd of good folks. I was honored when Heather offered me an opportunity to help her organize this very event in, I think it was 2012, and I'm honored to be up here this evening. Nowadays, I teach university-level courses on sustainability, urban development, the food system, and accessibility. In fact, a few years ago, I partnered with CAGJ to teach a course that ended with students teaching food system workshops in local schools. That was really cool. So I suppose in many ways, my dreams have come true, and in many ways, I have CAGJ to thank for that. At a time when contemporary politics, especially regarding abortion rights, gun control, climate change, and war, can leave us paralyzed with inaction, pun fully intended, CAGJ is a bright spot. It is an organization that continues to provide opportunities to not only express our frustrations and criticisms through protest, but also to continue building a positive vision for the future through food sovereignty work. And it consistently offers opportunities for collective education. As the name suggests, the Community Alliance for Global Justice helps us connect with others locally who have shared values, while also involving us with international issues that are inextricably intertwined with our Western lifestyles. The work of Black Star Farmers is an excellent example of local struggles and successes with global implications. It is humbling to see how much you all have accomplished. Thank you for your work. Okay, now for the nitty-gritty part. Our goal is to raise a whole bunch of money this evening. Whatever you got. I know the impacts of COVID and seemingly incessant inflation. Times are tough for many of us, but this work is important for our future. So let's ask ourselves what we can give tonight. Becoming a member is a wonderful way to support CAGJ, and we are asking everyone tonight to become a member. An admirable anti-capitalist style, money, though helpful and necessary, is not the only way to contribute. Participation is at the heart of the work of CAGJ. So you can become a member by donating money or by pledging your time. Both are extremely valuable. Everyone here tonight who is already a member, thank you so much. Feel free to raise your hand. We'd love to give you a round of applause. And please consider renewing your donation or sharing your current interests in our membership form. Please also consider becoming a monthly sustainer. Ongoing donations give CAGJ an extra measure of financial stability, so Heather can spend her time and energy focused on organizing, not fundraising. Plus, if you become a monthly sustainer tonight with a donation of $10 or more a month, you get a cool free gift. This is Heather modeling first, $10 a month sustainer. You get a copy of this new zine. Everyone worked hard to contribute. It's really awesome. $20 a month or more, or $200 or more, you get this amazing food justice apron. You'll look good in the kitchen and social justice warrior vibes. So please check out the instructions on how to become a member in the program that you have on your table or your picnic blanket, or check in with your table captain. And I do believe that volunteers are passing out pens right now.
Yeah, here they come.
Yeah, I hear the volunteers come. So this is a great time to fill those things out. CAGJ will take checks or cash. Be sure to include how you want to pay, and you can check out as you leave. Also, SLEE usually involves a dessert auction, but due to COVID times, we're not able to do that. But sugar is very motivating. So I encourage you to join me in donating what you can and then rewarding yourself for your generosity later with your favorite dessert.
And we do have desserts.
And there are desserts here too, but you can still buy some ice cream later. So I want to close with a Facebook post from my friend that really moved me. She took her young daughter to a Ban Off Our Bodies protest, and as they were bike riding home, her daughter reflected, "Mom, I did a good job with the prayers." And her mom clarified, "You mean the chants?" And she responded, "Yeah, but they were more like prayers because they were really important." And though I'm not a particularly religious person, I was moved by this remark. Our actions in the world are more important than ever in this moment. So thank you for spending your evening gathered together here to make another more egalitarian world possible.
I love you.
I love you back. Okay. I think so. I'm not going to run over any cord.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Shannon Timon. We love you. It's okay. I can kneel. My adorable nephew. Hugo, you want to come over here? Come on, Hugo. Oh my goodness. Thank you. So special. I have a lot of family here. I just want to say I love you all for supporting me and being here. I now want to introduce Ashley Fent, who I've already raved about, one of my favorite all-time CAGJ amazing people, who is the producer of our films and many other things. It's been such a joy to organize with you, Ashley, and she's here tonight to share about how we can all take action together.
That's okay. All right, sorry, if you've seen me around, I've been also doing social media, which is not my jam, but now I'm gonna switch gears and talk about how to take action, which is my jam. Okay, so you know, Heather already mentioned that CAGJ has been campaigning against the Gates Foundation, downtown Seattle, for the past 15 years, okay? And the reason you know is that they're the primary funder of AGRA, the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa. But did you know that US tax dollars have also been put toward AGRA, toward pushing corporate-controlled industrial agriculture in Africa? How many people knew that US taxes are going to that? Okay, so the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, gets its budget through congressional appropriations of taxpayer dollars, which if you live in the U.S., you're paying, right? And it's been using a chunk of that money to go toward AGRA over the years. In 2011, USAID committed $5.2 million to the initiative, and it remains a significant funder of many of AGRA's programs. So most recently, it donated $14 million to a program of AGRA that an independent evaluation has found is failing miserably. Yet USAID has responded by saying they're going to just keep funding it, right? So in March of this year, African farmers and farmer networks, including many that we partner with, like the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, or AFSA, met with representatives in the U.S. Congress to demand that USAID immediately stop funding AGRA and start putting that money toward agroecology and food sovereignty. Yeah, it's pretty amazing, right? So they got an audience, they got a briefing in Congress. This is huge. So in solidarity and in collaboration with our African partners, including AFSA, we have launched a letter campaign to USAID echoing the demands that they're making. So we're trying to reach 1,000 signatures today so that we can write a press release and a follow-up letter to members of Congress reporting on the campaign and demonstrating public support for our African partners' demands. So to meet this goal, we need your help. Please take a minute now to send an automated email to USAID employees. So if you have a smartphone, you can open your camera, you can focus on the QR code in the program, where it talks about USAID, the USAID letter, and that will take you to the link to sign. Or you can go to the website usaidendthegreenrevolution.org to find the link to sign there and learn more about the campaign. And if you don't have a phone with you, we have computers set up where you can sign. And here's our temperature taker, our thermometer. So the last time I checked, we're like at 850. So we need you. Please sign. If you've already signed, and once you've signed today, please help us out. Text, email, or direct message the link to 5 people you know who might be willing to sign, or share it on social media. Who can commit to sharing right now with 5 friends? Come on. 5 people. All right. Thank you. Thank you. If you're stuck on what to write, because I know it's kind of like, how do I get this out? You can lead with the sample message printed in the program, which is, please sign, support African farmers, not big ag, and be sure to include the link. We'd like to emphasize that this is yet another iteration of U.S. tax dollars being used to support imperialistic neocolonial projects, this time by using AGRA to create markets for U.S. and European agribusiness corporations in the name of, quote unquote, helping African farmers. All right, I got it. So it's USAID endthegreenrevolution.org.
Did you hear me? End the green revolution.
.org. All right. So I think with all of that being said, did we want to do the banner and signs?
Do you want to explain it, or do you want me to?
You can do it. You have a vision.
Okay. Can you carry that?
Yes.
So,
Maybe.
who can help us hold this sign right here, and then we're gonna take a photo with the freaking drone because Alex Garland is in the house. Listen up. Come over, Tanner. We're gonna get a picture of all of us protesting against Hungary. And we got some signs. Okay, we're going to find out if we've made it to 1,000 yet. Henry wants to sign. Can somebody help Henry sign? Thank you, Henry. I don't have, but we'll get you on there. You rock. So I just have a few thank yous. Also, an important announcement. If you won, do folks know if they want a silent auction item? Are you getting messages? Are you getting texts? Do I have some silent auction winners? Okay, well, you should know soon if you don't know yet, either by text or you'll get a piece of paper. If you want an item, you need to go check out where you registered, or if you got a bar, if you got wine and have it paid, please go through registration as you leave. I want to say a very special thank you to our table captains. Thank you for bringing folks. Really appreciate your efforts every year. Special thank you to all our in-kind sponsors, folks who donated fair trade, food, equal exchange, fish, and delicious food. Madre's Kitchen, Real Change, Farmer Direct Organic. Big thanks to our new sponsor this year, Bob Barnes and Rise Up Productions. One final shout out to UFCW 3000, UAW 4121. Thank you, Central Co-op, Friends of the Earth, New Roots Organics, PCC, Community Markets. And can I bring up Pukraj and Catherine? Can they come up? Or are they too busy? Pukraj! Woo! Catherine, where are you? Can you come up? Please give a round of applause to our SLEE coordinators. Yay, flowers for you. We love you, Catherine. You're an amazing coordinator. You're too busy right now, but special thank you. Thank you to our volunteers. Thank you to our interns. And thank you to all of you for making this happen in person again. It's so special. And don't forget to get free salad and smoked salmon on the way out. And woo! We got up to 1,020 signatures! We did it! You did it! I'm so excited. Nice work. It worked. Catherine, come here. So Catherine stepped in to coordinate just a couple of weeks ago or something and did the silent auction. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. Round of applause, please. Appreciate you so much. Thank you. You're amazing. Okay, thanks, everyone. If anybody has energy to help with cleanup, there's obviously a lot to do. So we super appreciate folding up tablecloths here, just helping to clear everything and pack it all up. If you have any questions, ask me. Thank you, everybody. We love you.